Hey everyone, it's Belden. Thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to be painting Gawr Gura. I'm currently working on her body, and now you're seeing me jump into some of her lower sections. So last time in my first video, I spoke a lot about my process, what I do, kind of the colors I use. Today I'm going to focus a little bit more on the actual process of what I'm doing and my techniques. You'll notice that I'm speeding this video up, and that's because I really want to try to highlight a lot of what I'm doing here. I start most of my models with a very simple white primer. I'm using a Vallejo white primer, and I use that just to kind of give me a good baseline. I'll use a white and a black primer base coat. I do this because, as I'm going to stress through many of my videos, I do not consider myself an artist. I've not been trained in it. I have no formal training. This is all just guesswork and fun. So we're going through here, just kind of powering through some of the initial prime coats. I'm moving through the pieces. You get to kind of see a highlight of some of the pieces we're going to be painting a little bit later on. So we're going to be using a combination of airbrush and hand painting. I know I've mentioned the paints I use a few times, but the airbrush I use is actually by a company by the name of Occean. The Occean came from a pack I purchased from Amazon. It was a dual pack. It was, I believe at the time, around $130, and it came with the air compressor, 2 airbrushes, and a few cleaning accessories. When I first began the hobby, I watched a number of YouTube videos and watched a number of recommendations, and there was a whole slew of them that recommended a lot of different airbrushes, but the one that kept getting recommended over and over and over was Iwata's. I looked into those, and those run about $200 for just the airbrush alone. I can pick these up at my local hobby store for about $180 to $250, depending on the model you're picking up. Because this is just a hobby and I'm just trying to get started into this, I didn't really think that was a wise investment. So for me, I started with something inexpensive. The Occeans run about $40 if you buy them standalone. Obviously, I wanted the air compressor, so for me, I thought going with the air compressor and the combo was a better deal. So, you're going to spend about $100 on an air compressor, and you're going to spend about $40 on a decent airbrush. The reason I'm talking about these prices is I kind of want to give everyone the understanding and the realization of what to expect going into this. I went in very blind. When I went in and saw prices of Iwata's and saw prices of other items, it was a little off-putting at first. So you can start simple, start small, build yourself up. I was able to get going for around $250 in that price range. That gave me everything I needed. I had the air compressor, I had the airbrush, I had the paint thinners, the paint cleaners, I had a handful of different brushes, I had a lot of good starting paints. So you can really get moving along for a pretty reasonable amount. Obviously, the more you invest, you can get a lot more colors, a lot better airbrush, maybe better compressors. Even the box that I'm painting in was a box I got from Amazon that I just simply spray painted white, and I went and bought a very inexpensive air filter from Lowe's, a couple bolts, and I attached it to the back of the box. And lastly, I attached a small exhaust fan to the back, so I had an outtake going outside. So the box cost me nothing, and I had a little bit of spare duct tape. I used that to fasten the back sides up, and the only thing I really had to buy for that was an exhaust fan, which I was able to get off Amazon. And again, that was about $40 for the exhaust fan, so that did cost me a little bit more. That was kind of above and beyond my starting fee. I ended up building this build box about 3-4 months down the road after I started the hobby. When I started recording, I was able to cut a small circle in the top of the box, put a piece of cellophane over it, and that's how I record these videos. Just rest my camera on top of that, pointing down. As you can see here, I'm just back to the hand painting, doing a little bit of touch-ups here, trying to clean up some of the sharp lines, something that I find a little bit easier to do with the brush on those really minute details. I want to jump in right here and kind of explain what I'm doing. This is a trick I learned from another YouTuber by the name of Leona's Workshop. She has an awesome channel. She paints some really cute anime models. I highly recommend you check her out. She is one of the main people I learned from when I first started. I spent a lot of time watching her channel and I really enjoyed her content. So she's really worth checking out, and I hope you guys enjoy her content as well. But what I'm doing here is a little technique where I'm applying a yellow base, and what that does is that makes your reds pop. I tried doing a white base with a red, and it does work okay, but when I applied that base yellow and then applied red on top, it made the red so much more vibrant. Every time I apply red now, I always start with a yellow base because it makes my red so much more red. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. Now what we're about to do is one of the more fun parts. This is some decals I printed off. I mentioned in my last video that I really struggle with painting eyes, so what I've done here is printed a couple Gawr Gura eyes. I just went online, found a simple photo that matched the similar pose to what she was in this model, and I scaled those down in Photoshop and printed them off. The decal paper came from Amazon. It was about $20 for, I believe, 50 sheets. So here I am. I'm actually applying the eyes finally, and I'm just doing a little bit of touch up. I'm adding some white and some blacks around the edges just to clean up the borders. And here's a cute little close-up of her face. She's starting to come together, looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the result so far. Let me know what you think in the comments below. After I gave her a little bit to dry, I came back and I applied some gloss, and that's what I'm showing you here is this gloss acrylic varnish I'm using to just do a simple coat over her eyes. This gives her like a sheen in her eyes. Again, this is a little trick I learned from my fellow YouTubers, so we're kind of coming together as a community, teaching each other, and hopefully inspiring one another. Here things are finally coming together. We're just tying up the last little pieces. I'm finishing up the base. I had a pretty big realization at this point in time that there were some extra pieces that came with it, some water pieces that I didn't realize were designed to go with this base. I thought there was two different base types, one that was a simple stand and another that was water. Upon looking at it a little closer, I realized that I had made a mistake. Just like on my Shy Lily model, I didn't dry fit any of these pieces, which would have solved this issue from the get-go. So this is an example to everyone, again, why you dry fit all your pieces. When I say dry fit, I just mean to assemble the pieces before you totally put the model together. That way you know if there's going to be any gaps, any issues in the connection, places you may need to pin, places you may need to sand out or clean up a little bit, or do a little bit of molding or adding some filler. As we're winding down, we're kind of coming to the close here. I'm just finishing up and doing a little bit of final touches to the end of the base here, cleaning up her name, her logo, and that's what you're going to see me doing over the next few minutes. So I want to take this time to say thank you to everyone who has stuck around for this long and watched the video. If you like this, and you'd like to see more, please subscribe for more content. And if you really like this video, hit that thumbs up button.